Hey, good morning, everybody. As I kind of get into this battle rhythm of doing this better and more consistently, I'm going to kind of marry the Thursday tools with the Friday family because it might be the most meaningful thing that I do um, as far as like Monday motivation, Tuesday tactics, Wednesday wisdom, Thursday tools, Friday family. One of the questions, if you've ever heard Pursuing Elite, one of the things you hear me talk about is balance. Balance is one of the pursuit points. And I've had to learn because I'm a pretty passionate dude. Like once I get into something is so how have I built balance in my life? And I don't know that I have, but I do have a system. I do have a process that really kind of guides me. And many of y'all have seen it. So this is kind of a marriage of Thursday tools and Friday family because I think the primary reason for balance is my life is to achieve something that I'm proud of and significant and worthwhile in the boardroom, but not at the expense of the breakfast table. So when we talk about work-life balance, a lot of times what people are talking about is preserving some of themselves for others and preserving those that have been entrusted to them, which is their family. And a lot of y'all have seen this. But the first thing I do is I disassociate balance from time. Time is measured absolutely, but it's experienced relatively. And therein is the hack. That's what we can exploit. When we talk about the 10,000 repetitions, some people say 10,000 hours. I say 10,000 repetitions. I think I'm right. Um, the system I kind of build acknowledge that, hey, 5 minutes here, 5 minutes there, 5 minutes there isn't balance. It's just a measurement system. So for me, it's repetitions. And the whole story is, I was speaking for an NFL team. One of the guys was about to become a dad, and he goes, "Hey, Clint, how do I make sure I'm as good a dad as I am a tight end?" And I said, "What are the reps?" Because there's reps that we do as athletes, and we just repeat them over and over again. There's reps that go into supply chain of executing a play. If we get 10,000 of those, doing that play ought to be native. And when I was answering the question, it's kind of those things where you're giving an answer, but you're kind of answering for yourself at the same time. So you feel a little bit hypocritical because you're like, man, I should do this too. Um, but I remember flying home and just read. I've always kind of subscribed to the 10,000 repetitions thing, but as a lot of times what y'all hear me say is easy to acknowledge 10,000 repetitions on the ball field, easy to acknowledge 10,000 repetitions on the battlefield, pretty easy to acknowledge 10,000 repetitions of in the boardroom. But at the breakfast table, I couldn't say with the same confidence that I'd mastered 10,000 repetitions in the thing that matter most to me, my role as a husband and a daddy, right? So I remember going to my bride and saying, "Hey, babe, I'm going to be an elite husband. I'll do 10,000 things an elite husband does." I said, "I just don't know if I've done 10,000 things." And she said, "You haven't." I'm like, "Well, hold on. I wasn't asking you. I was saying perhaps maybe, but I'm going to get 10,000." So I remember asking her, "Hey, give me 5 things that kind of let you know your mind that let me love you the way you want me to." And my list only have 5 because this has got to do this. And I went to each one of the girls, and pretty much every year I get a list of really 5 things from them, and it's kind of 3, and then I pick 2 now because I want to love them the way I want to love them too. But here's the tool. So that's the family, but here's the tool. I think a lot of y'all have seen this. Like this is my counter: faith, resistant temptation, um, button, little bit, Maddie and Amy. And I've flipped these. I mean, this is I've gone over 10,000 on each one of those. Um, and but man, I can look at it when I feel out of whack, or when I come home and Amy's mad at me. I can look down. I was like, well, I haven't gotten a rep in like 5 days. No wonder she's mad. And the cool thing is those reps don't have anything to do with time. When I talked to Amy the first time, I was like, "Hey, I'm going to take you on a 3-day trip. I'm going to do these other things." And she goes, "Hey, that's awesome. Like, who doesn't want to hear that from their spouse, right?" And she goes, "Listen, I'd love to go on a 3-day trip once a quarter, but can you just not be a jackass when you come home from work?" I was like, "Yeah, totally. That's way cheaper than a 3-day trip." And so it's not a time thing, it's an intentionality thing. So my Thursday tools is a counter. My Friday family is assign reps. Like there's repetitious distances from time. Time matters, but time doesn't matter as much as most people think. 5 minutes with your 5-year-old is one thing. Getting 5 minutes with your 20-year-old is a different thing, but it's still 5 minutes. That's an example of, you know, a minute uh, conversation with someone you love and a minute holding your breath. It's still a minute, but it's different things. So distance yourself from time as a function of balance and think on reps. And I just submit to you that getting 10,000 reps in the things that are important to you will help you kind of pivot, drive towards mastery. And whether you ever get it or not doesn't really matter. I think intentionality is always honored and always rewarded in some way. So Thursday Tools, Friday Family, have an amazing weekend. I appreciate y'all.